Hello, everyone. It is Jim, and I'm back today to talk about um, a really deep topic that's probably going to be split up into two videos, but I'll try and just put them together as one big video. Unless I miraculously cover all of this in one video. We'll see. Um, so, today I wanted to talk about pain work. And when I say pain work, I know I've said it in several other videos before, particularly a video I did on overcoming pain and fundamental darkness. A lot of people had asked me, what is pain work? I mean, we've all heard of shadow work, but what is pain work? And I will address that now. Shadow work, we all know what shadow work is. For me, anyway, these are my definitions. Shadow work is spiritual work that you're doing to ease the shadow's pull on you, the shadow's hold on you, um, restoring the balance of your shadow and your light, the light self and the shadow self, or the higher self and the lower self. You're achieving that balance between your two fundamental selves, the the angel and devil on your shoulder, So shadow work can be that's such an umbrella term that can be on a lot of things. Um, to me, shadow work in the sense when I'm using the term pain work and shadow work is like work for things that aren't necessarily painful. Like, oh, I'm going to do shadow work on my attitude, my negative attitude. Oh, I'm going to do shadow work on the way that I treat people. I'm going to do shadow work on my greed or on my arrogance, or I'm going to do shadow work on my self view, things like that, or my worldview. Those can all be negative things that you want to try and realign. But pain work is shadow work, but it's a specific kind of shadow work for me. It's a term I came up with myself, pain work. So if you've never heard it, that's why. So pain work, it is a Gym Warrior creation, but trademark copyright. But pain work is when you're doing shadow work that is painful to not only like you're not only going working through painful things, it's painful to work through, such as like child abuse, a really bad breakup with someone, the loss of a family member or a friend or a pet, um, anything that's painful. And of course, that's a lot of childhood stuff, I think, for a lot of us, and relationship stuff. Usually stuff to do with love and innocence, and the loss of innocence and the corruption of love. That's pain work. um, so today I wanted to kind of lay out a little outline for you. I have something in my teeth. No. There it is. What is it? Mm, it's a piece of cookie. Okay. Anyway, I'm so candid in these videos. Oh well. Um. So. Um. Yeah, I wanted to give you a little outline, for pain work and how to go about pain work and how to, um, sustain that pain work. All the way through to its completion. I think a lot of times, um, we self sabotage, which in itself is a shadow working, that we need to undergo. But I'm really bad about self sabotage. I'm actually making this video right after I have struggled and struggled and struggled to create my website and my own website aside from YouTube, obviously. And I had it created, and it was up, but I didn't tell anyone really about it. No one was going to it because I wanted to, because it was also a store, an online shop, and I wanted to set up the checkout options and everything, and my PayPal account and all this stuff. And for some reason, something that should be so simple has been going on for over a month now. And I was like, you know what, forget it. So I took it down just now, deleted the site, deleted all these accounts and things, and I'm just gonna have to start over from square one. Um, which is funny because I cast a reading about this beforehand, before I ever started any of this, like over a month ago, almost 2 months ago now. and it said that now is not the right time to do this. Wait until at least April. And I was like, whatever, and tried to do it anyway. And of course, it was like I was in developmental hell with it for 2 months. So I should have listened, but I didn't. And I think that in a sense is self-sabotage. In two ways. Self-sabotage in the sense that I should have listened to the reading, but I didn't. So maybe subconsciously I was like, sabotaging myself from doing this. And then self-sabotage in the sense that I just took it all down and deleted it, and now I'm going to have to start all over again from square one. But who knows if I will procrastinate and try to keep myself from even starting it again. Ridiculous, right? So anyway, I don't know why I brought that up, but I just needed to share it. So pain work. Let's talk about it. Let's finally get there, you guys. So first you have to really identify the grit of your shadow work, which is pain work. You have to identify what is that intense shrieking of the shadow. What is that one thing, or it could be several things, but for the purpose of this video, we'll talk about just one, right? So what is that one thing that just turns your gears as soon as you think about it, feel it, or hear it? What is that thing that makes your gut just like tense up, or your heart just start beating rapidly with negativity, with fear, with anger, with disgust? What is that? What is that thing? And for a lot of people, it centers around love, and something to do with love and the corruption of love, the loss of love, the something of love. And anyway, once you identify what it is, which can be in itself can take a while. These steps that I'm going to lay out for you, this could take weeks to months, maybe over the course of a year. And that's fine. There is no timetable that you have to fit for shadow work and pain work. It's nobody's business but your own, and no one can help you with it but yourself. So it is entirely up to you. And I think it's best to take things slow anyway. But always trying to, not let yourself fall into stagnation, because that is self-sabotage in most instances. So, first you have to find out what your pain is. And it's usually something very scary, and that's why you don't want to work with it or deal with it. But you know what, bitch? You gotta deal with it. You have to deal with it. And I think a lot of the times, the easy way to identify your pain, if you're unsure of what your pain is, which is bullshit, but we always know what it is. An easy way to go about it is to have conversations with the closest people around you. Your best friends, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your husband or wife, or whomever. If you're really close with your parents, anyone that's close to you, that you value their opinion, talk to them. Talk to them and be open with them about what, about it. And that does involve a really huge level of vulnerability on your side, which is why I say do it with someone that you feel completely comfortable with, like a best friend or your significant other. But someone that you're not afraid of their judgment. Of course, that sometimes can be the people closest to you, but that's a whole nother video. And of course, that in itself could be shadow work. But, or just spend quiet time with yourself and with your guides, with your power animals, whomever. So, identify it. What is a thing that gets you really just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. Just get it away. Once you find that, you have to pull it in. You can't shush it away. Pull it in and then acknowledge it. So find out what your intense shrieking of shadow is. What's your shadow bitching about? Hear it. Acknowledge it. Like, okay, I get it. This is making me feel pain. This brings me pain. Okay, you've acknowledged it. Now that you've acknowledged what your pain is, go find your shadow. Go find it. If you have never done a ritual into where like a ritual descent into the nether realm or the underworld or whatever name you love to use for that. Um, you really must do so for this guideline. I would say you really have to, because that's my next step that I would advise you to do. Um, After you acknowledge your pain, after you find your pain, acknowledge your pain, go find your shadow. So really identify your pain, find your shadow. Um, Identify and acknowledge can kind of be one step, but find your shadow. And of course, I'm always using book recommendations on this channel, and usually I cycle through like the same few books because I these are books that just are so they were so powerful for me and still are. So if you do not have any kind of like idea of how to go about going to the nether realm and finding your shadow, if you don't want to just go off of instinct, or maybe you've never really done ritual before like that, or creative visualizations, maybe you've never done a guided meditation, but you want to, or for this, I really urge you to. A really good book to help you with that is The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft: Shadows, Spirits, and the Healing Journey by Christopher Pinzak. He has a ritual in here where he guides you into the nether realm, and well, he calls it the underworld, but I just call it the nether realm. It's a synonym, you get it. So he talks about kind of how to allow yourself to descend into the nether realm, and taking a friend with you. He always says that if you're going to go into the nether realm, if you're going to go find your shadow, don't go by yourself, because it's the nether realm. It can you're going into the really dark place of the nether realm, the painful places, the scary places, places that can immobilize you and keep you from coming back. So he always tells you to take what he calls a psychopomp, and the psychopomp is just a spirit, like a god. So your matron or patron, or a spirit animal, spirit plant, something that you identify with or work with. You ask them to come along with you. So once you get there, you seek out your shadow. Your shadow self, if you've never gone and found your shadow self, is all of your negative attributes about yourself personified in one person outside of yourself. So it's everything bad about you pulled out and in a form by itself with no good. Just the shadow stuff. The negativity, the pain, the anger, the sadness, the jealousy, all of that personified. And it's really interesting to see how that shadow self looks if you're really into clairvoyance, or like me, creative visualization and the power of the imagination. It can be so telling to see how you see your worst self. Mine was very raccoon-like when I saw it, when I found it first. He looked very rabid though, like a raccoon with mange and rabies. Um, that was very telling for me. That meant a lot to me, to see it like that. I was like, this makes perfect sense to me. So your shadow self will definitely speak so much to you without saying a word, just through its appearance, if you choose to actually see it. So find your shadow, and then, as I was just describing, your next step is to give your shadow an outline. I don't think it's healthy to work with the shadow in the abstract for this purpose, like for the purpose of pain work, because you're really trying to finally work through your shit and get your shit together, and you're not going to do that if you really refuse to let yourself see it and hold it and work with it. You can't just wish for pain work, okay? You have to actually work. So, if you really want to get rid of your bullshit, you have to work to get rid of that bullshit. You gotta start checking that shit out. And this is the ways to do it. You have to give your shadow an outline. I really think you do. And give it an outline. If you don't instinctively see it in your mind when you go to the nether realm, then create one. Use your imagination. Draw it, paint it, write it, whatever. You get the gist. Give it an outline. Give it characteristics. Something that your brain can understand. Give it labels. Next, you have to let your shadow speak its pain. And this is where you really come in. You need to finally say everything that you wanted to say about whatever it is that is causing you pain. You've got to Scream, shout, cry, be vulnerable, be angry, get pissed off. You need to actually feel your pain. Stop pushing your pain away. Oh, it's painful. I don't want to deal with it. This is the time where you finally deal with it, okay? Feel your pain. Let it come out. And this step can take a while. For me, this can take a few weeks, maybe even a month. It may sometimes more. Sometimes you can get stuck in this one spot though, where you can just feel the pain for forever, and you're just constantly in that cycle of abuse for yourself. And this is why I think it's really important to work with a deity or entity when you're doing pain work. Someone, even a physical person, you need someone or something that's going to help pull you out of each stage so you don't just fall into them. So feel your pain. Let yourself feel what you're feeling for as long as you feel it. Because that's how you get rid of pain. You don't just shove it away, because then the pain's always there lingering around you, and you always have to dance around whatever it is. We all know this, but we keep doing it. It's ludicrous. So feel your pain, because once you exhaust that fuel, it will go away. It really will. So once you've done that, once you have felt your pain, let your pain just, its fuel run out, and then you can uproot that pain. And that is another ritual in of itself. It can be a spell or whatever. Or it can be as simple as just saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done with you. Go away. Go away. I'm so done. And you'll know it when you say it. There's a difference in saying, you know what, I'm done with you. And then just really shoving it to the back of your mind. There's a difference between that and then saying, you know what, you've done nothing but hurt me. And I've done nothing but hurt myself over this. And I'm done. I don't want it anymore. Goodbye. There's a difference, You'll know when you're finally ready to really let go of your pain. So you have to set it free. And then I like to do a ritual where I send it love. And that's how I wrap up my pain work. I like to really just, after I've identified what my pain is and I've let go of it, I felt it and I've let go of it, I like to do a ritual afterwards that's, it is healing by default, but not really a healing ritual. I like to do a ritual where I kind of visualize my pain in some way. I give it an outline. I visualize my pain going away from me somewhere, maybe floating off into the sky, who knows. So let's say that we're seeing it floating away. I will send a mass of loving energy after it. And I think that in finishing pain work with love, with loving energy, I think I can't really put that into words actually. You just have to experience it. You really have to just do it for yourself. It just seems so perfect of an ending to pain work. You've gone through all this bullshit, you've cried, you've got mad, you've gotten scared, all of this stuff. It's been a horrible journey, but you needed to take it. And then you end it with love. You end it with peace and love. You're like, you know what? You're choosing love. You're doing this ritual, and you're sending love to your pain. You're like, you know what? Bye. Go back to the ether energy. Go disperse and become something new. Goodbye. Well, you were with me for a long time, but I don't really need you anymore. Goodbye. Namaste and Ashe. But yeah, that's my guide to pain work. And now, since we went through it a little faster than I thought, I'm going to go through some more books that I thought were really helpful for me, and still are whenever I embark on a pain work journey. So, The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. This is probably my biggest recommendation to you for the sake of shadow work and pain work is this book. Sorry, I keep checking the camera. It has everything. It has information on demons and angels, if you're into that. It has ideas of journeying to the angelic realm and things like that. It has fairies and all such things. So it has a whole full chapter on psychopomps and guides to help you through shadow work. And then it has all these tools to do during shadow work, like spells, herbs, and all that kind of fun stuff if you're into that, the very witchy craft part of it. And then it has information on death of the self. One thing of his advice for your shadow work is to have a ritual death for yourself, and that's amazing. I don't really do that on pain work. I do that in just general shadow work. And then he talks about coming out the other side, really. The ascent from the nether realm. Amazing book. Amazing book. So I would that this has definitely has all the steps of pain work in it. You know, like this can support you through your entire pain work journey. However, this book is very much just for the first few steps of pain work. I would definitely use this book that I'm about to show you for the steps where you're trying to find your pain, acknowledge your pain, give your shadow an outline, and feel the pain. So pretty much everything up to the uprooting of the pain, the last 3 steps. I wouldn't use this book to help uproot the pain, set the pain free, and return the pain with love. I would do this for everything before that. Just finding your pain, giving it a voice, living and feeling that energy. And this book is Gothcraft by Raven Digitalis, The Magical Side of Dark Culture. Now, you might be like, oh, gothic, what? I'm not into that, you know? Like people who are all black and are super depressed all the time. And maybe you're not. Maybe you need to let yourself experience it a little bit. I was a self-professed goth as a teenager, and particularly more so right after I got out of high school. For about the first 3 or 4 years after high school. I only wore black all the time. I was very sad. Not so much angry. That came a little later. But I was a very sad teenager. I was a very sad person. Very helpless person. And by showcasing that on the in the external, not just keeping it in, it really helped me to release it. I gave my pain, which was this sadness about my childhood, I gave it an appearance. I changed my exterior self to match my interior self. The way I felt was painted on the outside of my body, and the clothes that I wore, the music I listened to, the people that I associated with, everything that I did was a reflection of my interior self. And that can be really healthy if you do it in ritualistic settings. Like if you set aside time to set up a circle, open a circle, go into it, dress for that circle, and like just let yourself be whatever your pain is. And then once the circle's done, take it off and go back, you know, to life. But this book's really great. It does cover all these subcultures of the gothic community because there are different types of goths, not just goths. Like it's not just like, you know, the guy who wears like band tees, if you can see that, and hangs around graveyards. It's people who get very elaborate, like people who are into BDSM, the princess goths, cyber goths, people who are like into techno music and like robots and like the future and like industrial, punk goths, where you very mix like the punk lifestyle and the goth lifestyle, where goths are, I think, generally about sadness, punks are generally about anger and frustration, and you can mesh those. Anywho, so the beginning of the book talks about like finding your goth, vintage goth, fairy goth, perky goths, which are happy goths. There's all kinds. Mopey goths, gravers, which is a gothic raver, gothic lolitas, glam goths, gothabillies, fairy goths, fetishists, death rockers, corporate goths. I mean, there's a bajillion that he breaks it down into. And then he talks about all these paths that can help you identify your own pain and anger. So he talks about like Thelema, Alexandrian Wicca, Asatru, Druidism, of course Satanism, fairy witchcraft. He talks about a lot. The green/wild witchcraft, which was so intriguing to me early on. Kabbalah. He talks about a lot. He talks about utilizing emotional energy. A whole chapter for that. This book's really great. Don't let the topic throw you from what's really in here. If you're someone who is, you know, opposed to like gothic stuff or gothic people. He talks about like drug use. He gets really candid in it. Drug use, self-abuse, like cutting yourself or starving yourself, all this kind of stuff like that. He talks about, of course, music, the power of music in your ritual, and to give voice to your pain. Clothing, of course, all that. Alcohol, which of course is in the chapter with drugs. Oh, he talks about, this was really powerful for me. He talks about femininity in men, and he's like, it's a chapter called like Boys Do Cry, and it's really great. Really, really great. Talks about transgendered people in here and the pain that comes from that and how to work through that pain. Um, I mean, ugh, I love it. I love it. It's magical. It talks about ethics and like, do you want to have ethics and what are your ethics? Define your ethics, because a lack of ethics can be why you're trapped in the cycle of pain because you don't have a set of like boundaries really set for yourself and for what you'll accept into your life. You don't have ethics and morals, so therefore you're just accepting all this bullshit from people. You have to have morals and ethics, but you have to create your own. You can't just adopt someone else's paradigm. And so he talks about that. It's amazing. He has all these symbols in the back. I can't speak about it enough. The goth craft. It's really wonderful. Now, if that's too much for you, if that's too uncomfortable, if you're just not into the gothic stuff, then I really suggest Dark Moon Mysteries. Fabulous book. It's very, very much for the crafty witch or the crafty pagan. You make your own mask. Again, outlining your shadow. He makes a shadow mask, a mask that looks like your ugliest self or your negative self, and you wear it and you allow yourself to be that negative person for a ritual. He has tons of rituals on it, and spells, tons of herb work, naming the shadow, like give your shadow a name. Oh my gosh, it really breaks down everything that I've been talking about intensely. So, oh, and then lastly, inner work. Using dreams and active imagination for personal growth. So yeah, allowing yourself to maybe like make up a fairy tale about yourself. Write stories about yourself where you triumph over your pain like in a superhero way. Draw a superhero outfit for yourself. Make up a story. Like how about you rewrite that story of pain? So like I use my own as an example. So child abuse. Being sexually abused as a child. How about I write a story, which I did, instead where I describe everything in truth, the way it happened, right up to the moment of the sexual abuse, but then almost like an alternate telling, instead of writing the sexual abuse, then I take the story off and I go from like, this is what led up to the sexual abuse, and then this is what happened and how I got out of the sexual abuse and how I kept it from ever happening. That in itself can be really empowering, just to be able to see yourself in a different light, in a different way, and to see how things... it's not really lying to yourself. It's kind of letting yourself pull out of that pain and that mindset and see things in different perspectives. Lastly, I will just say, for me, I have something cooking right now as we speak, like cooking. It's funny I say that. Joy Morris, I've been watching so many of her videos, and she just said that about something she was making the other day, that it was cooking. But anyway, I make water just for paint work that I use. And it looks black here on camera, but it's actually, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, it's actually purple. You can kind of tell on the top there. But it's a very deep purple, like if it was separated in a different jar, like with more space, you would see the purpleness of it. It's a deep violet. But anyway, I just did that with food coloring. Because for me, purple represents the nether realm. I have a chili pepper in here to kick out bad shit. And a little salt to cleanse out bad shit. And just a little gem on top to amplify the moonlight that I will set this in. Just to give it more strength to, like, as the moonlight passes through this crystal, it'll like put it on steroids and infuse this water. And then I'll usually put this in a bath and have a journey to the nether realm through the water, because I do see the nether realm as a very watery realm. And from there, I will do paintwork. So that's just a little tool that I use in my paintwork that I thought I would share. Whew! Anywho, we just made it in under 30 minutes, you guys, so it'll be one video. So, paintwork is the grit of shadow work. Identify your pain. Acknowledge your pain. Find your shadow. Give your shadow an outline. Let the shadow speak its pain. Feel the pain, uproot the pain, set it free, return the energy to ether. I think I covered all the steps. I probably repeated myself, but you get the point. Namaste and Ashe. Peace out, Girl Scouts.